Hey friend, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to show you how to get a bright and percussive acoustic guitar mix. Today we're going to be looking at getting your acoustic guitar to be bright and percussive inside your track using just two plugins, EQ and compression. And this is going to help you make sure your acoustic guitar contributes percussive energy to your track in addition to just the normal rhythmic energy. Now, before we dive in here, if you're ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process in its entirety and really start to hone your workflow as an audio engineer, then I have just the thing for you. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it's just a simple PDF that will walk you through the entire mixing process step by step to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without any more of the hassle. It is a completely free to download guide, and you can get access to that by clicking the link below in the video description. Now let's jump in here and look at this acoustic guitar. Well, it's actually a pair of acoustic guitars. We have our acoustic here, and then you can see we have our double as well. Let me give you a preview of the track here so you can hear where our mix is sitting, and I'll also solo up so you can hear just our acoustic guitars. So you can hear they are contributing that rhythmic energy that you want a guitar to contribute, but they also have that percussive nature because of the brightness and the top end we're adding to the guitar, and that helps it give it that kind of sort of shaker feel as well. So it gives you the feeling that there's that shaker panned wide in your track that drives your track forward through the mix, right? So let's take a look at what we're doing on the acoustic guitar here. We have an EQ, and then following it, we have a compressor here. Now this compressor is playing a key role as well, but let's look at our EQ here first. Now we've got only a few moves going on here on the acoustic guitar. The first being a high pass filter. And if you've watched any of my mixing videos before, you know I love putting the high pass filter in first to clean up the bottom end here. So it's a 12 dB per octave slope, so not too aggressive, kind of medium style slope here. And I'm rolling it up to about 140. This isn't a main driving factor in the track. It's not a main instrument. So we don't need all of that bottom end there. And you can see we have a bass guitar as well. So our bass is going to carry the bottom end. We don't need all of that low end coming from our acoustic guitar. It'll muddy things up on the side of our track here. So take a listen without the high pass, and then I'll kick it in. You can see we're taking out a part of the frequency range that we don't need there and that we don't need contributing energy to our track. You can see we're starting to focus more of that sound of the pick on the strings here. Now, before we add the compressor in, there is one other thing that was bothering me here on this acoustic guitar, and there was just a ringing frequency sticking out here around 1.77K. So take a listen without this, and then I'll kick this in, and I'll also boost it up. Beware your ears here as I boost up this peak. You can hear the frequency that was ringing out. Just a stray frequency ringing that wasn't really in tune with the guitar. If there's a frequency ringing out and it seems to be in tune with the guitar, a lot of times you can leave that in or maybe just pull it down a little bit. This was not ringing in tune with our guitar, so I pulled it down quite a bit here, 12 dB almost. And you can see our Q is all the way narrow as possible. So we're just pulling out that frequency. I don't want to affect the mid-range of the guitar too much. Now, before we get into boosting top end here, to bring out that brightness and bring out that percussive sound, I want to get our compressor in place here. So the compressor I'm using is the 1176 style compressor here inside of Studio One. This is their FET comp, and what we're getting from this compressor is a little bit more of that pokey sort of sound on the front end of the acoustic guitar. If you have a guitar that's pretty pokey, a lot of times you want to stray away from a compressor like this because it'll emphasize that attack sound coming from your guitar. It'll kind of emphasize that transient and give you a really pokey sort of sound. But we're going to use it here to emphasize some of that, to give us that more percussive nature and bring that out on our acoustic guitar. So take a listen here without the compressor, and then I'll kick it in. You can see how much compression we're doing, but also notice how it changes the character and tone of our acoustic guitar. You can see we're not doing much compression, just grabbing some of the peaks as they come by with maybe 2, maybe 3 dB of compression on some of the louder peaks. But as we kick the compressor in, notice we get more of that kind of top end percussive sound on the acoustic guitar, focusing on the sound of the pick making contact with the strings. That's what's going to help our guitars sit really nicely wide panned in the track like this. Now, we've got our compressor in place. Now we're going to go back here and emphasize these frequencies. We've done our compression to get some of that character out, and now we can come back and boost more of that into our compressor. And the first frequency I'm going to go for is up on the top end here at 7K, 7.08K. We're going to add about 4 dB here, and this is going to bring up that top end, that brightness, that airy sort of sound. This is going to give us some of that shaker feel here, but we're going to emphasize some of that later. So just adding our brightness first here with our top end boost. Waking up the top end of our acoustic guitar there, giving it the brightness and the air we want to hear on a wide pan, big sounding acoustic guitar like this. Now, the next frequency here is key to getting a full sound and to bringing out some of that percussive nature. We've got our brightness. Let's get that percussive nature so it gives us some rhythm and some vibe inside of our track here. And that's down around 2 or 3K. So if you've seen any videos talking about mixing, shaker or tambourine, that frequency is usually around 3K, bringing out that kind of percussive nature in an instrument. So that's the area we want to emphasize on the guitar to help bring out that same nature and that same energy. So we're boosting about 2.5 dB at 2.26K, and I've widened the Q a little bit to cover this whole high-mid area. You can see now we're really bringing out that sound of the pick making contact with the strings, the percussive nature of the instrument. That's what we want. That's what's going to set our acoustic guitar really, really nicely inside the track here. So let's go back now. And before we sit it inside the track, let me A/B just these 2 plugins on the acoustic guitar so you can hear our after and then our starting point. We're taking out the portion of the frequency range that we don't need, that's not contributing good energy to this track, and we're emphasizing the frequency range, so that brightness, that percussive high-mid area that is contributing energy to this track. So let's put it back and try inside the song, and I'll A/B it one more time for you. You can hear it didn't seem like it was making a big impact soloed, but once we stick it inside the track here, there's a lot of stuff going on that this acoustic guitar needs to compete with. And without this EQ and without this compressor, our acoustic guitar doesn't have the brightness and it doesn't have that percussive energy to sit and cut through the rest of these other instruments. I hope that was helpful for you. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you're ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflow as an audio engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below to start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.